Hello, welcome. It's mini HardLore time, live from FYA Fest in Tampa, Florida. How you doing, Bo?
I'm doing really well.
Me too. Thanks to this very special guest. Multi-layered reasoning behind this.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Sheehan, Indecision, axe to grind legend. This is the worlds colliding between podcasts.
Very excited to be here.
How you doing, Tom?
I'm doing great. I just came back to say hello, and then I'm Tom from 200 Stab Wounds right now, and
That's
I'm
right. we started talking
core.
We started talking the core, started talking the lore, and we were like, we need to just start rolling on this.
Yeah, why aren't we recording this?
Yeah.
We saw very quickly that we can be like talking about Marauder or something, and you'll be like, I was at the Master Killer record release, and this happened.
Does that feel like an old man thing to do, though?
No.
Quite honestly.
Because we would do the same thing
We would do
of
the same
our
thing.
era.
Oh, Aladdin.
Yeah, Aladdin Jr.
Yeah,
the GOAT.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you see
right.
the Kitchen Nightmares episode? It's great.
Yeah, right. That's fair. Okay.
That was on Kitchen Nightmares?
Oh, yeah. It wasn't. It was pre-Aladdin Jr. See, I got it. I'm ready.
There's some more.
Yeah, see,
There's
this is
some
what
more.
we do on the show. But you've got a story kind of for everything because you've lived through all these different eras of hardcore at this point. You're a lifer.
I'm like the Forrest Gump, I feel like, of hardcore.
You're the
I've been at
Forrest
stuff
Gump.
that I'm like, I can't believe I was at that. Like,
What's something that you think about fondly that maybe it was 20, 30 years ago that you still look at and you go that you feel like you were there yesterday?
well, we were talking about like seeing one of the Crown of Thorns like early shows. It was like one of the last Super Bowls that they did in the city. It was a place called the Grand. It was in like near like 14th Street, like Union Square, and just being like 17 and like dodging scary felons. I can still feel like I was there.
What was discovering music like in that time without internet, without any of that?
I know I'm like that old. Like
No,
that.
but like it puts it into perspective how simultaneously easy it is for people to access music now and how difficult it can be as a band to stand out.
Right, it becomes almost disposable if like you don't have to. So it's weird. Like I talked about this on Instagram every once in a while that it's like people were dicks and very kind of like the whole gatekeeper thing that people fight about now was a thing.
It was yeah.
It's like you shouldn't have that fucking burned purple long sleeve. Like you're a New Jack. Why the hell, like or
Well,
like
I feel that now.
Yeah.
you're like you shouldn't have that fucking that one Marauder.
Absolutely,
Like
that's
that,
for me.
Do you have every Marauder shirt just as a total
No,
aside?
not every, but
is there like a Holy Grail Marauder shirt?
I have my holy. I have the first one.
So you have okay.
Yeah, the tribal.
Yeah.
With the little red skull in the middle. I've got that, so I'm good to go.
Made a early real ones of James wearing every single one of them.
And then like just under the armpits, it's like this. It's like, why are my shirts all V'd out, man?
Honestly, the pits started to tear, so maybe I'm now connecting that maybe it was James.
Yeah, just like kind of learning from your friends and just sort of like reading like the whole like
Thanks
right
lists.
like thanks list. But it's true.
It's true.
Oh no,
Yeah, like you still look at
We
stuff.
did it, and the internet media fire existed. You know.
Well,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
helped too. You can be like Youth of Today, whatever, media fire.
That-
It's
yeah,
like boom.
blog
I discovered
spot.
Amazing.
I discovered Warzone because of Youth of Today thinking Warzone, and like Youth Defense League because of Youth of Today.
Right,
You know what I mean? Like I used to do stuff like that all the time.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it was like mixtapes that your friends would give you and stuff like that, like because you could put 10 7-inches on a 90-minute tape or whatever.
That's
It's
right.
like, oh, cool. This is how it like, or if they recorded on like the wrong speed, that's what you were used to. And then
Oh,
you're like,
yeah.
oh, wait a minute, Neglect doesn't sound like this.
No, yeah.
Got-
Oh shit! I'm like, wait a minute.
Got the first R&R 7-inch
Yeah.
and played it on the wrong speed.
wild.
Thought his
Couldn't tell
voice
the
was like
difference.
way too high. It's like that can't be it, but he has a high voice. So then it was like,
Just enough.
like we had
That
to slow
sounds
it down
sick.
to 33. Yeah.
Probably pretty dope.
yeah, big
pretty
time.
good.
But yeah, I mean, I think it was like one of those things where you just, you learn from your friends and then you go to shows and you try not to get fucking murdered. Or sometimes you get like punched in the face and then you go, this is cool. I can't wait to do this again.
And then you come back and they go, oh, he came back. That's cool.
Right.
Yeah. Like I got hit once so hard, like it was over the music. Like in my
Whole
temple.
room heard it.
Yeah.
Yeah, people were like, yo, you all right? I'm like, yeah, I think so. It was at a Marauder show.
Okay.
A minus at a Marauder
Wow.
show.
Ooh.
Pre-master. Were you at the Master Killer record release?
Man, come on, dude.
Who played the Master Killer record release?
Or here's a weird thing, and I'm not to give HardLore. There was a time that Marauder wasn't that big in New York.
Sure. I believe that. I
Very
100% believe
strange.
that.
I love them from like I remember going to like a record store to buy the demo because it was like, oh, it's like the guy from the neighborhood.
Sure.
Because I would know people that knew them by their like government names.
Oh.
And they'd be like, you know Javier? I go, no. And they're like, they call him Saab. And I'm like, yes, I do.
Yeah.
I've gotten kicked by him and his friends many times.
Hell yeah.
I heard of them very, very early on.
Yeah.
For me, early on, as being a big Madball guy, and a friend of mine being like, "You should check out Marauder. They should be the flagship New York band." Like, in my opinion, they're the one. And it was like no one in Chicago at that time.
That conversation comes up a lot. You know, like you hear that about All Out War in the city a lot. That like the city was late to All Out War, but that's the thing that we're finding as hardcore podcasters about a year in. You guys are 5 years deep. You're talking about these things you love and accidentally finding you're like tastemakers by accident. You know?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, and that's awesome. If I can get someone to listen to like Confusion or Dark Side, because I talked about them on a podcast, like that's, I know what they did for me.
Of course.
How much I loved them, you know what I mean? So it's fucking, you know, like, but I think like, yeah, like a band like Marauder, they were like, you guys were talking with Dan, I don't know when this will run, but like you talked about with Dan King 9 about bands.
Yeah.
I feel like Marauder was a band's band.
Really?
Which everyone I knew were like Handiri was the biggest band in New York.
Right.
Like bar none, no questions asked. And like Marauder was great from the get-go, but they weren't as big. Like they were probably bigger outside of New York.
The songs are just, they're so nuanced and there's so much to them, but you can't really tell that upon first listen. So that's why somebody in a band listens to that and goes, how the fuck
There's
did they
still
write this?
drum things that I catch.
Oh, big time.
I mean, Vinny was incredible, and he wrote most of that stuff.
Wrote most of the songs.
That's right.
Lyrics and music.
That's right.
Have you seen pictures of him recently? He was great. He's like an MMA guy.
Really?
He's like half the size.
He might have emailed Brody. I think he's a
wrestling fan.
So that's pretty cool.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah. But I mean, those like were like the local dudes that then, you know, we got to see a bunch of times, and then they changed singers, and I was like, I'm not sure if I'm gonna like this. And then Master Killer came out. I'm like, oh,
this is the best thing ever.
This is incredible. Like I didn't like, and then it took me a while, like for those demo, like to hear like Life is Fucking Pain as compared to Life is. It was like it's gonna take me a minute to get used to. It. It's like Pro
is pain.
Yeah, I knew it forever. And I was like, I don't know about this, and then.
Or hearing Besiege the Masses with lyrics as opposed to him singing it live with no words.
No, you know, and Jorge's a great, incredible frontman. I feel like like a super overlooked like frontman.
Like
I feel like
not even in terms of like vocal performance, but just as an overall being frontman.
Just and vocally, I mean, like his DNA is in everything.
Everything.
Like everyone sounds like him.
We're all doing him.
Oh yeah, like like how you like. I thought that was great because it's like when COA was like, "What do you do? What are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh fuck, we all do something."
He asked us 2 days before that, and we thought about it for 2 days, just being like, "Man, we can't wait to ask everybody." We have his blessing to make it a universal thing.
That should be like the corner.
Who do you do, Tom?
I do Rob Fish from 108.
Oh,
that would be my guess, or Zach Inside Out.
Are you vegan?
Straight edge, but not vegan. Vegetarian.
My man.
Well,
but
yeah, close, halfway.
Vegetarian.
Yeah,
you eat cheese.
I mean, I go somewhere with you, and like I just get it without the meat.
I love 108.
One of my favorite bands ever.
Love
I didn't know that.
Killer of the Soul.
Oh,
Burning Fight Fest in Chicago.
I was there.
108 played.
Yeah.
Who's the guitar player?
Vic.
Yeah.
Did he ride his guitar down the stairs at the Metro?
He put his guitar string side down on the ground and paddled on it like a surfboard, a Les Paul. Out the side, down the stairs of the Metro.
You're sick to your stomach watching that?
Well, I was in the balcony. I was like, oh, I wonder where he went. But I heard from other people that he did this.
Yeah.
And then he had a wireless pack on, so it's making noise. Got into like a corner in the green room and just started like rolling around.
While they're playing?
It was the end of the set.
Oh.
So it was like
song.
feedback.
I can't believe you knew that story.
I was there. I'm Forrest Gump. I was there. Did you play Convicted at the time?
Yeah.
Charlie's my buddy.
Yeah.
We toured with him a bunch.
Yes, right.
MPB, and he was out with.
Just saw him the other day.
Oh shit.
He's out in the Bay Area.
Oh, good for him.
So we played a Bay Area show. And
hey, Charlie. I haven't seen you in probably 20 years, but he was always cool.
Yep. I lived with him. I lived with him at the time.
Oh no way. Okay.
At the Fireside House, and after Burning Fight, I like opened up our front door, and the singer from Killing Time was just sitting there, just like, "Hey,
how you doing, kid?
How's it going, kid?" No joke. Yeah, I was like,
"Hello, Anthony." Yeah. I feel like they're underrated.
Killing Time is the best hardcore band.
Brightside is
the best hardcore.
Brightside is the best hardcore record.
I say that 100%. But like, if they came to Los Angeles tomorrow, would it be bands like Mosh to Survive for bands only, do kids get into that? I don't know.
I think it would be a band's band.
I think it's a band's
situation.
band thing.
Which is wild.
At This Is
It would
Hardcore
be-
a couple
it would
years
be me
ago.
and James Vitale fucking.
Skanking
Yeah.
it up,
Fuck
just
it,
yeah.
yeah.
At This Is Hardcore a few years ago, I literally ran into Alec.
Yeah,
Like-
exactly. That's what happens. That's what we
You
do.
know, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's cool. Yeah, like how you were saying, like all the kids at Mosh for Your bands got into the sick bands. Like you're that for Killing Time. That makes sense.
Wow.
Wow.
Right, and Marauder.
Wow.
Do you remember the Underdog set at that show? At Burning Fight?
Yeah, they were amazing.
Dude. The
They
like slow skank part
Yeah.
in Mass Movement, and people were doing the like pre two-step, but like to a it was just one of the coolest things I'd ever witnessed.
It's funny that we can talk about these things and then like transitioning into another, and you probably watched that happen in real time.
Yeah, pretty much.
What was that like?
Weird. I didn't like it at first.
Yeah.
I was like Mosh guy. I like breakdown.
Yeah, but they're hard. I feel like
They
Into
were
Another
hard.
is harder than Underdog
No.
to me.
Dude.
Some mosh parts.
In the
But when
in the
you hear,
core
like,
of its being.
But were
two
you
snowflakes? Are you moshing us two?
No.
Running into walls.
But then
Yeah.
running into walls of fucking.
And then what's the next song? Ba- ding, 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 ding. Were you ever like a youth crew kid?
Love the band, but I was never like sweatshirt over t-shirt over sweatshirt
Okay,
guy.
'cause
But I was like
I-
a youth of the today guy, girl but this guy, like all that.
I think if you were a youth crew kid and Underdog had like an edge to it.
No, of course.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I get it.
And so to me, that's like harder than Into Another.
Yeah, and you like
But
say
then
it to
Into
my
Another
face,
goes
that riff.
down and down down and down
True.
and down, 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 down. Yeah.
Dude, they were a band that I got into like later into it because I was, I wanted to see Underdog.
Of course.
But,
I loved him right away. Into Another connected with me in a way.
because that's the first song. You're like, all right,
Yeah, I
That
went
makes that actually
straight
makes
into that
perfect
was,
sense.
like,
Yeah,
just for me.
That-
And I liked Rush. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
of course.
So
of
it
course.
was like,
Yeah.
this is great.
But it was always weird because those bands were like, it was like them, Quicksand, were like kind of separate from like hardcore.
Sure.
They didn't play hardcore shows really.
Which is bizarre.
Like I saw like Into Another with like Seaweed.
And that's all they're playing now.
Like that's who would play in New York. It would be like Into Another Seaweed. Into
now
Another
they'll play
Texas
with
Reason.
fucking King 9. You know?
Yeah,
and
now
it'll be
it's
like, oh,
whatever.
great show.
Yeah, right.
But then it was sort of like very, very different, and like he wore shiny shirts.
What year did you start going to hardcore shows?
Probably like 1991.
Wow.
That's the year I was born.
I was 15.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's
Thanks
your
for making me
birthday?
feel old. August 31st.
We're pretty close. September 21st. So
We're like, are you Virgo?
Virgo.
Boom! I'm a Virgo.
We're
on
here.
a cusp or whatever the hell they
This is why we're
whatever
here.
people say.
This is
That's why we
we're
get along.
here. Yeah, we're right there.
We like
So-
wrestling. We like hardcore.
Who, please, because I have not talked to many. We talked to Carl from Earth Crisis a little bit about like being around when the youth crew was like dying, obviously.
The paradigm shifts.
Yes, the shift from youth crew into like dark. What
Right.
did what Vogel has quoted to have said? What Integrity did to youth crew.
I mean, he's right because I think Integrity sounds like Judge with Metallica.
I mean,
parts.
early Integrity
very true.
absolutely
Is,
does.
like, and I think, but I mean, like in New York, Integrity wasn't a thing for many reasons.
Yeah.
I mean, even before
Yeah.
that wasn't like a thing.
Right.
We had our own fucking. We had Demise. We had like
Right.
we didn't need this. other
Dude,
stuff.
Demise.
wildly underrated.
Demise is one of those things, and it's probably because of the recording that it's wild. Because when you like decipher what is happening musically there,
Beta was a
Hoya,
monster.
friend of the show,
Great dude. Red
those
Beto
songs
and, yeah.
are unbelievable.
and they were like kids.
Kids playing
Like-
the craziest riffs you've ever heard. They understood like music theory and song structures without probably knowing what any of that shit meant.
No, and they just knew it.
And then then that was it.
Yeah, and I think if they got like a remastered, if you want to talk to your brother, I don't know, maybe.
I think he's done it privately for himself already.
Like so, he's got like a
I have
banging version.
Yeah,
on
I've got it
iTunes.
great.
Like,
It sounds great.
But I think like if they had like a discography that got out there, I think like it has. I mean, Soul Search.
yeah.
I mean, like obviously,
Yeah, of course.
But it's all like, oh, I got this on
Disgrace-
blogged and
Disgrace-
quartered.
yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Whatever the hell. Like it's-
Disgrace covered the Dawn on their
Yeah.
on their LP, and a lot of people think it's an original song
Because
it
it's-
just makes sense.
it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist.
You know, like
It's fucking. They're unbelievable.
either if you have a friend with a MediaFire link and that's it. Like it doesn't exist, which sucks because I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of that stuff needs to be put out there. Like,
Yeah.
What are some of the earliest hardcore shows you remember going to?
well, there was a local place called the Crazy Country Club in the neighborhood I grew up in, which is called Sunset Park in Brooklyn. One of my
I
early,
literally know about that because of Marauder.
yeah, that's literally where I went,
literally-
and that was the show that I got hit over the music. Because so it was like a local place, so like all their friends would come.
Right.
They didn't like hardcore, but it was like, oh, cool. We can like beat up people, and it's like to music. I literally
That's a lot of stories I hear from that era. That's a very common thread. It's
Yeah,
like, Biohazard was playing. I never heard them, but I just want to like.
Yeah, it's like
you can
But
mosh.
like my
sanctioned murder.
graffiti artist friends and I are gonna go and
It's like, I
hang
can just
out.
like beat up people.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, like it's cool. Like
Right.
yeah, all right, yeah. One of the earliest shows I went to was like it was like Dark Side Confusion. I saw Starkweather a lot. I loved Stark.
Big
Stark.
fan.
Like Lament. I don't know if you guys like. Are you familiar with them at all? It was Maximum Penalty with a different singer.
Oh, okay.
They had a record out like really early on. I forget what the name of the label was. That put out like early Clutch records and like. But yeah, like all like Brooklyn, like Confusion, Dark Side, Marauder. So like Demise a bunch. Yeah, it was just like a local, like a venue that I could walk to.
Great.
Cool.
So like, you know, our high school friends, like we were all in high school together. We're like, I like this. And like we'd all go on like a Thursday night to this crazy country club, which is like where Andrew Dice Clay started.
Oh,
So
shit.
it was a comedy club that they let hardcore kids do shows on.
that's
Thursday
where the
nights.
Hickory Dickory Dock bit came
Exactly. Like, yeah.
Good old Mother Goose, huh?
He actually stole that from somebody, from Marauder.
Yeah, exactly.
That was like the intro. And he's like, yeah, it is a good idea. But yeah, like they would literally like, there was this thing. It's actually, I mean, in retrospect, it was like so fucked up. So you'd have to walk past the bar to get into the venue. The bartender had a button that would shoot air out. So like when women would walk by, he'd go, and it would like blow up people's skirts and stuff. Not a lot of women at 1992 fucking hardcore shows in Brooklyn, but like for the comedy shows and stuff, like that's what they would do. Like it was a lot of like waka plays like that. Then they'd have like
Jesus
Black
Christ.
Agony Marauder play like a fucking,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I like Life Agony on the demo, like that era,
That's
like
crazy.
the second demo, like the more singy demo, not the shit terror demo.
Is that the Depression?
Yes, like all the songs that ended up on River Runs, right? Yeah.
Depression.
Yeah, when like Mina had like the keyboard and like made her own like
So
Life of Agony.
awesome.
It's so fucking cool.
So cool.
Yeah, you mentioned being at the River Runs Red record release as well.
Yeah, because we were talking, a buddy of mine that we were coming down, like came down with, we were talking about it, and I remember being like, and he didn't believe me, but I feel like I have like this like brain that I go, I remember this. Like that they used the samples of all the voicemails as the intro.
Just all together.
Yeah, and then like it ends with the mother screaming.
Yeah.
And them going into that song, Plexiglass Gate from,
No,
and which is where I first heard Only Live Witness, Twitching Tongues, which is on that fucking record, the comp, the East Coast Assault.
Wow.
Have you ever heard that?
Of course.
All right, yeah, dude. I
Instrumental.
forget that you're like you guys are such
We're
students of
tapped
the game.
in. We're nerds.
You have
dude.
everything.
Yeah, we're dorks.
Like your Plex must be insane. You got a Plex? I know you got a Plex.
I'm on the Pistons. Yeah,
I heard about that.
a secret
yeah.
society.
Yeah. If you ever want it, I can send you stuff for the Pistons, like demos and
Plex
stuff.
me up, dude.
I'll hit you. I'll hit you up with some stuff.
I'd love to be in your server.
I don't have a server, but I can send you stuff to put on the server. Like I have.
I can't upload to it, but I can receive. I can.
Okay, or you
I
can share it
yeah,
with whoever
exactly.
owns that.
There's some stuff on there that you'd be like, wow, that's,
How the hell do you have
Yeah, how
this?
do you have that? Yeah.
Yeah,
Bands that played CB's one time,
I love that
like
stuff.
the recording from that show,
from
and
the
that's
live
it.
recording.
I have because I talked to you about this, and I don't know. I don't trust anyone to give anyone my original Marauder demo to upload this, but I have Vinny singing "Life Is Pain"
That's crazy.
as like a sort of like, here's how you're supposed to sing it. So the
It's
dude,
nice to know that that's how that band operates.
Yeah.
because that's a common thing.
Yeah,
And-
and you feel that.
Oh,
yeah, and there's this dude Frank Collins that played in Marauder and like Sub Zero and Confusion. That like he had it and he like gave it to me. He ended up dying. Like he ended up passing away in like a bike accident. But like he was like one of the early guitar players in all those bands. And he's like, you want to hear this? And I was like, this is ridiculous. And I literally flipped over my Marauder tape and I taped it on the other side. So I have that and this band Wrench. Have you familiar with Wrench
No.
from Brooklyn? 2 bass players, no guitar.
Sounds like a
Incredible.
nightmare.
Sex Prisoner. They're doing
But
that,
not
yeah.
but incredibly one of the basses is tuned like a guitar.
Oh, cool.
I'll send it to you. It's actually
Yeah, it
really
sounds
interesting. I mean, you've been nice
I-
now. You're
I
like,
love
that
it.
sounds awesome.
I love a gimmick. What can I say?
Yeah.
I'm a
But they would
sucker
play
for
with
a
Life of
gimmick.
Agony all the time.
Cool.
Super heavy. Very
Of
weird.
course. Yeah.
Yeah. 2 basses.
So you're 5 years deep into
Axe to grind.
into the premier hardcore podcast. You know,
The first one I ever heard of, for sure.
it was like, wow, finally some guys talking about this.
I mean, there have been other ones.
Snitch
Like
thing.
Damien's
Yeah,
done one. But like, I
course.
feel like this is the most like,
hardcore.
let's talk about.
Yeah, you're
like,
talking
them.
about Marauder.
Well, you know
So
what it
I'm like,
was?
finally.
It was without being too controversial, it was like the COVID episode for show back episode where I became
no shit.
aware.
Oh, okay.
And I like listened. And
Was that like a thing? Like, did people get hip to it because we talked about that show?
I just think it was the Tompkins Square Park show, which was controversial.
Yeah,
just that because it was the early mid days of COVID and feelings weren't quite where they are now, and so it was.
And it was funny that like it opened back like a month later.
Yeah,
Like we did the God Say pop up a month after.
Yeah,
that. And it was like that's so sick that you guys did.
Yeah. So
like,
there was
taking that bullet, buddy.
Just loud individuals on the internet, whatever, weren't happy with it, and like whatever. But I was curious on what the discourse was because I knew how I felt about it, and I felt like if you were outside, it's probably not that big of a deal.
Right.
That's how I felt about it, and it wasn't.
We're years past that.
Yeah, we're way past that.
Yeah,
now.
but at the time, it was kind of like so. It was
was
like a
the
hot-button
thing.
I would see Madball in a park on a nice April day every Sunday if I was allowed to.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Like I would do that every Sunday
That's
if that
what
was
we
a thing.
call
If that was
the-
an option.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get brunch and go see Madball.
Sounds
Mass.
lovely.
Fuck yeah.
Little
Like,
egg
you know, like-
sandwich, you know?
You know what I'm saying? Like an egg and cheese and a bagel,
God,
a back,
love it.
whatever you
Yeah, the
you
Aki
get your
way,
back-
you know?
Dude, all right.
Get the fuck
Sure.
Sure.
Come on.
But yeah, that's when I became aware, and what interested in me was it was like kind of taboo-ish to talk about even, which is insane to think about now. But I was like, oh, these guys are going to talk about it. I want to hear what.
Yeah, I mean, it was worrisome. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
But like I know, like so I knew a lot of people involved. So I'm like, I know how to talk about this. That like I know them well enough that they know where I'm coming from. Like if it was just like Pat coming out there, I'm like, Pat's gonna get his fucking neck broken. But I was
doesn't
able.
give a fuck.
He just doesn't care.
But then I go places.
Yeah,
Like,
right,
I'm
yeah,
outside. I'm like, you need to not say this stuff because I actually go to shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm like, you know, I'm like
He speaks for you now.
Yeah.
He
I'm
speaks
like,
for you and Bob now.
yeah, I'm like, I would wish you'd stop saying stuff like
Yeah.
that because like I'm going to go to some place and someone's going to knock my block off because they'd be like, wait a minute. I mean, people confuse me and him on our voices, which I don't hear it.
I don't hear that. Pat's is
Very Albany.
Yeah.
Very,
Oh my God.
very
That
Albany.
voice has eaten dinosaur barbecue 10 to 20 times, you know, easily.
But yeah, I mean, it was one of those things I was like, this needs to be talked about. Like, I feel like if we didn't talk about it, we'd like not be doing like, not our job, but like we have a responsibility because it was such a thing.
Ignoring it would be weird.
But we would be able to do it in a nuanced way that we weren't being like, I can't believe they did the show.
Yeah.
And at the same time being like, I get why people were bummed out. I get it. I get
Yeah.
both sides.
There are two sides
Right,
to that.
right. And like, they're adults.
Yeah.
That like if they were able to like pay, like, the adults that do this full time, that just got this taken away from them for 2 years.
Oh yeah.
If they were to play outside and make a couple bucks, pay their fucking mortgage, I can't be like, how dare you?
No.
And you have a choice. You don't have to go.
Exactly.
Easy enough.
Do you find it hard? I mean, you keep up with new bands. You
Oh, I love it.
That's your shit, and
Absolutely.
I respect that because like I'm 31,
I'm bad at it.
and that's still it's difficult.
I'm bad.
But do you feel like, have you gotten into more new stuff doing this?
Yeah.
Yeah, big time.
And I think that's helped me too. To
Big
kind
time.
of be
Okay.
like, it's part of like, it's not like I do research, but it's like people will send me stuff. Like, oh, here's this demo I'm doing, or here's this. Like, and it's like, oh, cool. Like, but I think I've been more privy to stuff just because it's like, I talk about it every week. I better learn.
Yeah, it has to be,
what
or
am I
else
gonna be
why are
like,
you doing
And I
it?
saw Harvest.
Yeah.
In
No.
1990, like, I can't do. I love Harvest, but I can't do that.
Right,
Nobody
right.
wants to hear that. Nobody wants to hear the three old guys
Talking about
talking about the
Harvest.
90s.
It's
Nobody
very surprise. It's been very surprising to us to hear what people are like requesting.
right.
To hear or realize the episodes that like kind of pop off, like, and I'm not even throwing Sam under the bus. I don't think, but his episode,
Dude, Sam was crazy.
his episode smashed.
Yeah.
Triple
And-
B.
Yeah.
yeah, and it's
I
like,
mean, he's a
and-
clothing
like,
company at this point.
Huh?
He's huge.
but like growing up, like Shane Merrill would never. I don't think anyone. You know what I'm saying? Like he does every show and fest in Chicago.
Right.
And I don't think there would be the same response. You know what I mean? And granted, there is the logo. There's.
Yeah, yeah.
I understand
It's
there's a
all over.
caveat, but
Right. I mean, you also can retweet it to how many tens of thousands of people
helps.
that follow Triple B. You know what I mean?
help.
Like,
Yeah.
you know, and yeah, I mean, I think, you know, which we always try to get our buddy JL from Albany on our podcast, but he won't really do it.
He's gonna do ours for sure.
Is it going to be a race to it? Like, he wants to do it, but
I think he's he's hesitant, but he'll do
he's
it.
very private.
we'll call
He
it the
is.
Between You and Me episode.
Yeah, between you and me. Honestly.
Yeah.
But he is a champion of the last decade of
Big
hardcore.
time.
If
Big
you really
time.
think
I mean,
about
he's-
what he's
he's
done.
really kinda-
One of the curators.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's done some stuff. He, like, changed the vibe of hardcore.
Yeah, he
Between,
brought,
like, your record,
brought it back
Incendiary,
to
it's
the
like-
way it should
Yeah.
be. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I go more heavy than
I know you
and,
do.
yeah, I mean,
I know you
I
do.
like everything. but, like,
What's it? Give me a like a solid 5 bands from like when you consider yourself well into your adulthood, you're looking at hardcore in the lens of like, man, I've been part of this thing for a long time.
Right.
What are 5 new bands in that frame where you kind of felt a shift in hardcore?
Like a big
as
change?
whole? Yeah, big change. And that you liked, where you were like, oh, this is awesome that this is happening.
Like, how far back are we going?
Yeah. What's the time frame?
Like into your adulthood, where you're like, I'm here, this is my life, and this is a new band to me.
So maybe 2000s and beyond.
Yeah, 2000 beyond.
American Nightmare.
Yeah.
Huge.
Like, changed the game.
Yeah.
Like, people that were in hardcore bands already were like, we're going to do this.
Yes.
You know?
A band that was instrumental in getting me into hardcore at the time.
I mean, how couldn't it be? Like, if it's like, if you like heavy stuff, they're like, they look awesome, they sound awesome, it's fast.
Truly
lyrics
one
are
of the
amazing.
first bands that was
Looked.
like, yeah, we're gonna wear nice stuff while we play.
You guys
the
had
song.
18 Visions, though. They were sharp.
That's fashion. You know, that's
This is just like, we look
Yeah.
fucking awesome.
yeah.
and,
That's like
I've
that's
just black-
real fashion.
Okay, American Nightmare.
American
that's a
Nightmare,
good
for sure. TUI.
Yep,
Yeah,
that was the
that's
first
good
one
one.
that came to mind.
I feel like they were like, they changed it.
They killed what
I'd
what
like
the
to go
American
back.
Nightmare kind
Yes.
of.
Yeah.
I would like to
Wow.
go back one step.
Yeah.
No warning.
Yeah.
big
Ill
time.
Blood and
Incredible.
the 7-inch, like
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
That new record is awesome. You need, like, people need
Oh,
to give that new
uh,
like the
Torture
torture
Culture?
Yeah,
It's
very good.
Filthy. It's
Yeah,
fucking
we did
great.
the tour with them
Oh, that's
on
right.
that,
I saw
and
that.
it
I was
was
at that.
it was very good.
I was at the Brooklyn Bazaar show. I was there.
I was at the Subterranean show.
Hey,
I was standing in the back.
I was
Yeah, I wouldn't
right
have
up
standing
front.
in the back.
Yeah, it's just I'm not trying to get moshed.
That was my first time seeing The Warning.
there, dude.
I never got to see him back
Yeah.
in the day. I was just too late for that.
But I think they were. They brought like
Big
they
time.
were the best New York hardcore band in a very long time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's full stop.
The best New York hardcore band,
best
not from
Canadian New York
Yeah, I mean they
hardcore.
really were because then that begat like like Guns Up,
Oh, that
Backtrack,
Cruel Hand.
You know.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Backtrack was a big part of it.
And
I-
then
we're
also-
going past 5.
We've
yeah.
talked
Like
about
the-
that with Dan at length. That like they
Yeah, like-
turned they merged Long Island and New York in a way that nobody else.
Long
really
Island was
ever
always so
could.
different.
Yeah.
It was never like Neglect was like part of like
Right.
you know like Neglect would play this place called Bond Street with like bands like, but yeah, I mean all right, so TUI, I'd say Have Heart had a big
Big time.
Yeah, it's undeniable, huh? So we have
yeah. I'm going
No Warning, TUI, Half Heart, American
Nightmare.
Nightmare.
and then fuck, that's really tough.
What would I say? In like,
I'm trying to think what else. I mean, there's been so many, but like both of your bands have impacted like
We did some shit.
you know what I'm saying? Like I
I
don't know if like Code Orange sounds like Code Orange without like you. We played together at Rainfest,
we were just talking about it.
2010?
Yep.
and it was. But I mean, now like you look at the line, you're like, we played with you guys in Arizona. Switching Tongues played. It was Nails, Drop Dead, Indecision.
Oh, it's, yeah, the fest thing. Yeah, I had no voice that day. Yeah,
and,
so-
and the whole show was shot.
yeah. Disgrace played and had a really good set upstairs.
And that's a big room.
Nile,
The Nile.
upstairs.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I would throw Terror into that mix. I think they.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah.
I think they have an undeniable position in that top.
They're in the Mount Rushmore now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I hate
Yeah.
to do. Terror definitely belongs in it, but I feel like that ages me because it's like I've named like 4 bands within 5 years.
but
you know what I mean?
but that is all so the
Hardcore
bands we were
generations are different.
the bands that we were talking about all before all them earlier, all those New
Yeah.
York bands, youth crew bands, and all that stuff. Like that's like foundational. We're talking about the next levels that are built upon it. That
Right.
were like you're an adult. You're like, oh, I'm witnessing a change. Like I'm witnessing this happen.
Yeah, I mean, Terror was just like the heaviest thing, and every band changed to meet them. Like when Lowe's Low came out, everyone's like, "Oh, this is what we're gonna do."
Yeah,
So
this
that's
is
what we
this is
call
it.
a paradigm shift. Bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Hatebreed too.
Oh.
Dude,
Oh,
like,
Jesus.
that's
The
number one.
goat.
How did we not even?
But they're another band that like when Satisfaction came out, it wasn't that wild.
But then
Then it took- then
that's
it was
why
like-
they didn't do another one for 5 years.
years.
Right, then it was like-
it became this self-sustaining thing.
They're one of those bands like you ever see a band like and they're playing a song for the first time, like it's not recorded yet, but you're like, oh.
Oh, yeah.
They remember when they used to do those Stillborn Fest?
Of course.
So we played right before it was 2002. It was like right before Perseverance came out. We did a bunch of like shows with them and like Converge, and like they played Proven, and that last riff,
Wow.
and I was like,
this
it's
is where you're
now.
going.
This
Yeah,
is what's
yeah.
happening.
That's
Like,
awesome.
It's like one of those things. You're like, holy,
That's really
like
special.
that's like a
Oh, this is a
that's
hardcore
shift.
band playing a Slayer riff.
Yeah,
And
that's
people
like
are gonna
halftime.
kill
And
each
that
other.
and then that look at what that became.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
Right,
exactly.
whole nother- yeah, I mean, but
exactly.
like that was a record. That is the time that you see it and you're like, this is nothing. Like
Right.
Satisfaction was nothing
Right.
compared to this.
Wow.
Like,
Well,
yeah.
Tom, this was wonderful. Thank
I
you
talked
for
a
being
lot,
here.
sorry.
No, we're
No,
doing
no, no,
great.
this
This
is
is what the people
rich.
want. Yeah, we'll have you back on. For
Yeah,
the
yeah,
full
yeah,
one.
we'll-
we gotta have
We'll
a
come on your-
crossover.
we'll do
I would
the-
love to do that.
We'll do
We really
the full
should.
crossover.
Yeah, we'll
It'll
do
be
that.
amazing.
That's a good idea.
Yeah,
That
thank
we
you.
should do like we'll record them at the same
Half
time.
and half.
Boom.
Boom. Beautiful. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you for the
Check out
HardLore.
Indecision. Check out Axe to Grind, the first ever hardcore podcast. And now here we are in their footsteps. Thank you so much, Tom. Thank you
you.
for
It was
watching.
fun.
We will see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bing.